Federal government confirms third case of coronavirus. Nigerians urge federal government to stop flights from high-risk countries. Appeal court rules in favor of APC chairman Adams Oshiomhole. In international news, more countries taking drastic measures to curb COVID-19 spread. And in sport, federal government postpones National Sports Festival.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. The federal government has confirmed a third case of the novel coronavirus disease in Lagos. The affected person is a 30-year-old Nigerian lady, a UK returnee who entered the country last Friday. The Ministry of Health says she is presently receiving medical care at the hospital. Lagos State Commissioner for Health, Professor Akin Abayomi, has called on all passengers on the same flight BA75 with the UK returnee to stay at home and self-isolate themselves for 14 days. Nigerians on social media are now calling for a total flight ban from high-risk countries to avert exposing the entire country to the risk of COVID-19 infection. The federal government says it has no plans to impose travel restrictions on visitors from countries where coronavirus continues to spread rapidly. As Kelechi Mekalam reports, the Minister of State for Health, Dr. Olorunnibe Mamora, says the government has expanded COVID-19 testing capacity to curb further spread of the virus.
The National Reference Laboratory in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. It's 1 out of 5 laboratories set up across the country for testing the coronavirus. Nigeria quickly beefed up testing capacity and trained health professionals in caring for affected persons after recording its first case.
What we have done is have a central procurement platform through the National Reference Lab here in Abuja. So we have ensured that we have a supply chain of reagents coming in. We've been supported by some of our international partners. We have procured these reagents centrally, and then we distribute out of Abuja, monitor use. As they use more, we offer them more. But at the moment we have about capacity for about 5,000 to 10,000 tests in country, and we're looking to scale that rapidly over the next few weeks.
The country confirmed its index and second cases February the 26th and March 8th respectively. With a population of nearly 200 million people, health authorities say they have been working to prevent any further spread.
The reason we're so aggressive in preventing entry is someone coming into Nigeria with this disease, maybe not symptomatic at the point of entry, going to a city in Nigeria, infecting others, and suddenly you have a big cluster of cases that we were not able to identify.
And so far, there's been considerable improvement with the confirmed cases.
The index case is clinically stable and it's much improved. Steady progress till early next week will guide the medical team in discharging him. The second confirmed case, a contact of the index case, is testing negative for the virus now, meaning he has cleared the virus and will be allowed to go home.
By the end of January, only Senegal and South Africa had labs that could test for the virus. Health authorities continue to urge citizens to remain calm, keep up with facts about the pandemic, and maintain health and safety standards.
A faction of the All Progressives Congress loyal to National Chairman Adams Oshiomhole heaved a sigh of relief as the appeal court granted a stay of execution of the order of the Federal Capital Territory High Court in a case seeking to remove Oshiomhole as the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress APC. A panel of the appellate court restrained the respondent in an appeal from proceeding to act or take any further steps with regard to the ruling of the FCT High Court. The court ruled that the order would remain binding pending the hearing of Somalia's motion for interlocutory injunction stated for Friday. This means the status quo is to be maintained by all parties. The panel also unanimously restrained the respondents, including the Niger Police and the Department of State Security, from further giving effect to the suspension order. Somalia is expected to chair the enlarged National Working Committee meeting, which has been postponed, and chairman of the Progressives Governors Forum and Governor of Kebbi State, Atiku Bagudu, says the meeting will hold when the governors are able to resolve the present crisis. Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission says Togo, Niger and Benin owe Nigeria a total of 29 billion naira for the electricity supplied from January to September last year. Niger supplies power to these countries, which are classified as international customers in the Nigerian power sector. And ERC says the Nigerian government has continued to engage the governments of neighboring countries benefiting from the export supply to ensure timely payments for the electricity purchased from Nigeria. The regulator also says even with the slight progress recorded in the third quarter of last year, the financial viability of the Nigerian electricity supply industry is still a major challenge that threatens its sustainability.
Coming up, African stories. List grows of African countries recording coronavirus cases. And later, international news. More countries, some neighbors, closing borders, restricting travel to combat coronavirus.
You are watching ANN.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. Now to African stories. The list keeps growing of African countries recording cases of coronavirus. Two more countries, Tanzania and Somalia, have recorded their first cases of the deadly virus. Tanzania Health Minister Hume Umwalilu announced on Monday the patient is a 46-year-old Tanzanian woman who had arrived in the country from Belgium on Saturday. The minister said laboratory results have confirmed the patient had coronavirus. The government has advised citizens to postpone non-essential travel to countries that have reported cases of COVID-19. Meanwhile, Somalia has also reported its first coronavirus case on Monday as well. Health Minister Fauzia Abikar says the patient is a Somali national who had returned to the country after visiting one of the nations affected by the virus. The health minister said the patient is one of 4 returning Somalis from China who were isolated and tested. Her results came out positive. Experts say a COVID-19 outbreak in Somalia could be devastating to the country's ragtag healthcare system. Almost every aspect of social life has shut down in Morocco. The government has closed eateries, cinemas, theaters, ports, public clubs, bars and other entertainment venues because of COVID-19 fears. The other spas, markets and shops that sell essential items and restaurants that deliver food. Morocco has 29 confirmed COVID-19 cases and 1 death. 1 patient had also recovered. The country has suspended all international flights. All schools have been closed and public gatherings of more than 50 persons are banned. As COVID-19 cases increase in Africa, the World Health Organization says it will cost a tremendous amount to confront this pandemic on the continent. WHO is appealing for more funding for Africa to ensure it gets what it would need to combat this outbreak. Daniel Arapmoy reports.
The World Health Organization's funding needs for the response stands at $98 million, of which $44 million have been received, leaving a funding gap of $54 million.
The overall budget for the organization is roughly around 600 million. And our initial estimation for the African region alone is about 46 million. This is for WHO to provide support. But this do not include what countries need, for example, to rehabilitate health facilities. And also for us, this is to provide technical support and fill critical gap if something happens in a given country.
WHO's initial strategic preparedness and response plan called for a total resource requirement of $675 million, of which $61 million were for urgent preparedness and response activities for the period of February to April 2020.
The appeal that was launched at the beginning for the strategic response plan is to give us the means, and actually is the means for us to continue providing technical advice, but also making sure that, for example, we preposition the required equipment or supply.
Other partner organizations are also facing shortfalls that have led some to reduce or stop operations. There are growing fears that if the funds are not received, World Health Organization will be unable to sustain the response at the current scale.
Locusts have been quite active in eastern parts of Africa and have decimated food supply in many areas of the region. Aid agencies are quite concerned about South Sudan, where it says a new breed of locusts could hatch by April and further endanger the food security of the country. Patrick Hoyet has the story.
Locusts are the latest issue to create problems for South Sudan's food security. The United Nations says the locusts are laying eggs in the eastern part of the country, which could hatch by April, a time when farmers are scheduled to begin cultivation. But the UN says a number of factors have contributed to the food insecurity.
Those problems are long-term in nature as well. We've had many years of conflict, many years of droughts. We've had all sorts of economic challenges that people across the country face.
Flooding late last year washed away crops, livestock and homes, destroying people's livelihoods. South Sudan's government says it is working to improve the situation.
The government is fully committed to the implementation of the revitalized peace agreement so as to afford our people a better life. We look forward to a peaceful environment that will continue to support the recovery of disrupted livelihoods and greater participation of the population in the upcoming 2020 agricultural season.
The new unity government is being set up in South Sudan as a result of the 2018 peace agreement. The country has a new executive, but other officials such as members of parliament and state governors are yet to be appointed. The judiciary is also due to be restructured. Even if relative peace and security are being restored in the country, many South Sudanese people who are returning from refugee camps would still need to cultivate, plant and wait for harvest, which would need at least 3 to 6 months, during which time those farmers would have to depend on food aid. Another challenge in South Sudan is that infrastructure such as the road network is poor. Aid agencies are sometimes forced to use food airdrops.
One of our big challenge, therefore, is the remoteness of the country, the difficulty of reaching people, the difficulty of those people to reach markets, to actually get access to food. So our logistics capacity in this country is one of the biggest in the World Food Programme across all 82 countries that we work in.
Farmers in South Sudan also have no access to financial services such as loans for agriculture. That means the main farming system is subsistence, which is negatively affected by natural factors such as drought. But experts say if lasting peace returns to the country, financial institutions will find a way of providing loans to farmers, and that would help improve food security situation.
When we return, international news. More countries, some neighbors, closing borders, restricting travel to combat coronavirus. And later, sports. Federal government postpones National Sports Festival.
You are watching ANN.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. On the international scene, Serbia has declared a state of emergency as a result of the spread of COVID-19 in the country. Serbian Health Ministry said on Monday there are currently 57 positive cases out of more than 300 persons tested. The elderly have been asked to stay indoors. Our Joseph Milankovic reports from Belgrade.
Preparing for the inevitable. Drastic action to curb the fast-spreading coronavirus.
I'm informing you that we've decided to declare the state of emergency on the entire territory of the Republic of Serbia.
It was a televised address to the nation that everyone expected. The announcement follows a number of high-level discussions and video conferences between Chinese and Serbian medical experts. All citizens older than 65 are required to stay at home. The military will guard most important institutions throughout the country. All public events are cancelled. Public transportation is reduced to weekend schedules. Restaurants' working hours are limited. Basic food prices are fixed and distribution is controlled. Besides the health concerns, basic goods are running low at many shops. Almost empty shelves in one of Belgrade's biggest supermarkets. Besides flour, pasta and canned food, hygiene products are the most sought-after commodity. Until a few weeks ago, this company produced disinfectants 5 days a week in a single shift only. Now, they are working 24/7.
I can say the current demand for disinfectants rose by at least 30 times. We've increased our production of chlorine-based products by 10 times and those alcohol-based by 20 times. But the demand is much higher than that.
Despite the efforts to contain Covid-19, Serbian officials say the worst is yet to come. They are now trying to follow China's lead, and this includes dedicated hospitals.
I'm not sure we can build temporary hospitals as fast as they did in China, but we have other options on the table, to repurpose some existing buildings or to refurbish them so they can serve as such hospitals.
In the meantime, Serbians hope these facilities won't be needed.
Spain has put its 47 million citizens under partial lockdown on Saturday. This is part of a 15-day state of emergency to combat the coronavirus epidemic in Europe's second worst affected country after Italy. All Spaniards are now to stay home except to buy food, medicines, go to work or to the hospital or for emergencies. Reporter Rahul Pakyak tells us how the state of emergency is working in Spain.
Madrid in shutdown. Shops, bars and restaurants all closed. The streets of the Spanish capital normally bustling with local... Madrid in shutdown. Shops, bars and restaurants all closed. The streets of the Spanish capital normally bustling with locals and tourists now eerily quiet. Spain is now officially in a state of emergency. The cabinet met on Saturday to put the new measures into effect. Well, the crisis here in Spain really ramped up on Friday with a 50% surge in new cases in less than 24 hours. More than half of those infected are based here in the Spanish capital. Health officials here have also called on more aid and even the army to help it deal with the current crisis. Ahead of the wider shutdown in Madrid, schools had already been closed across the country until March the 25th. The measures have caused huge disruption to the education system and left teachers like Monica Hernandez rushing to arrange new timetables.
The biggest issue is to finish the syllabus with the exam period, with the exams almost upon us. We were finishing the second term. Now they won't be able to do that. We will have to evaluate them with the grades we had before this.
The government has also advised that parents should work from home. Mother of two, Phyllis Crinian, works as an English teacher in the Spanish capital.
For me, I've had to stay at home. My children are obviously at home. If I don't go into school, I don't get paid. It's as simple as that. The uncertainty of when this is going to finish is there as well. We heard Italy extended their days till April. We're expecting the same here, if not longer.
Italy is being recognized these days for not its industrial prowess before becoming the COVID-19 epicenter in Europe. The fight against coronavirus has been fierce in the country and the nation has been thrown into a lockdown. Chinese President Xi Jinping says his country will send more medical experts to Italy to help in the fight. In a telephone conversation with Italian Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte on Monday, Xi said China will do its best to provide medical supplies and other assistance. Wuhan was China's poster city for the disease, but the epidemic prevention and control work there has shown positive changes. No new infections are being reported, and temporary hospitals set up for the treatment of COVID-19 patients have been shut down. Wuhan hospitals have returned to their normal medical services. She commended the Italian government for what he calls, he says, were a series of resolute prevention and control measures the country has taken in response to the epidemic. He also pledged his country's support to Italy in its prevention and control efforts. Prime Minister Conte expressed his heartfelt thanks to the Chinese side. He expressed the confidence that the relationship between Italy and China will be further strengthened after the epidemic.
Up next, sports. Federal government postpones National Sports Festival. Please stay with us.
You are watching ANN.
Welcome back. This is ANN News and Sport. The federal government has postponed the 2020 National Sports Festival that was to hold in Edo State. The Minister of Sports, Sunday Dare, announced this information in a series of tweets on Tuesday. He said the postponement was caused by the coronavirus pandemic. The coronavirus pandemic is turning sports schedules upside down around the world. European football's governing body, UEFA, has postponed this year's European Championship until July next year. This decision was reached after UEFA's conference call with Europe's 55 national football associations earlier today. The postponement was widely expected after national leagues, UEFA's own Champions League and Europa League club competitions were suspended last week. That is ANN News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on these and other breaking stories, visit our website, annafrica.news. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Have a pleasant evening.